I want to make sure everything's working properly on this end. Because we will be live on this as well, too. This is, again, featured for Patreon members, for those who are doing this with us. I got it. I need an intern. All right, looks like we are up and running on that one. This is the Great Martial Arts Training Hall Forum. Just having a conversation here. We'll do this the first Tuesday of every month on the Izzo Wing Chun channel, YouTube. And it's we want people who are going to have just passion brought to from their martial arts into a conversation type sake. We had a great time last time. It was 5 or 6 of us. I think, no, 5. And like 2 guys were jumping at the end, like 2, 3 guys were like, I got to join in. I'm like, nah, it's too late, man. You missed the party. But yeah, once a month. And I have a feeling as this grows, it'll be once a week, which is what I would like to. We come together, discuss martial arts, have conversations, share our passions. You can't do that on forums. Forums, I think, you lose. I do, at least. I'm infamous for it. I lose. What do you call it? Like the translation of tone. So, like if Bill says something and I go, what do you mean, my Wing Chun? So I get really offended by it and stuff. So I think this is a better place to, if we're going to sling some insults and whatnot. We could do it in here. I will be letting people in as time goes on to see other people getting added in. I appreciate that. Michael, it's good to see you again. William, it's good to see you again. Bill, new to this. JG, I don't think you were here last time. JG, were you here with us last time? You can unmute yourself if you want. Over in the chat, Martial Patterns, good to see you again, or good to see you, period. It's the first time we're doing this live. Ranger Prime, make Wing Chun sexy again. Did I ever stop? There you go. All right, JG, I'm going to assume that you're just going to wind up listening. If you want to chime in, you're more than welcome to. Last time we did some breakdowns, and we'll do those again because I thought those were fun, but we'll build off of this. Once again, well, Bill, you're new. Bill, what brings you to this? What's your martial art passion and history, and what are you hanging out with us for today?
Well, Bill Schrader invited me, and I started training Kyokushin in around 1980, and trained for over 20 years. Was on active duty in the military at the time. I got out, was out for 15 years, and in 2001, I closed my dojo in Florida and went back on active duty after 9/11. And I worked in anti-terrorism force protection for 10 years. And then I contracted for a couple of years, and I spent some time living outside the country. And I came back to the U.S. in 2021, right as COVID was winding down. And I reconnected with all my Kyokushin people here in the U.S.
Now, I want to get corrected where I'm wrong. Is that what we would call like a hard style karate, the style that you were in?
Well, I've heard it described as a soft style.
Okay.
That's done in a hard manner.
Please explain.
Kyokushin is known for, hard fighting, full contact, all of that. But the whole theory behind Kyokushin is the circular movement that you employ. And when you think circular movement and redirecting and using footwork to control your opponent and that kind of thing, you think more soft style. So I think you can kind of practice it that way, but I think as you get deeper into it, that's my feeling. You're going to employ more circular movement. You're going to employ more redirection. Your idea, I think people misunderstand Kyokushin. They think about us standing there and just going toe to toe and, bare knuckle fighting and all of that. But when you get into it in a much deeper manner, now you're seeing things that are really effective when it comes to self-defense. You got to be hard. You have to train, because in the real world, you're going to take hits and you're going to get hit. But your goal is to not get hit. My teacher used to say the first rule of karate is don't get hit, which sounds maybe simplistic, but what he's really saying is the idea is to inflict damage on your opponent, not stand there and trade punches with them. And I think Kyokushin is very good for that when you start getting into higher levels because of the circular movement that you can use that basically uses the opponent's energy, their momentum, their technique, use it against them.
Are we going to see
If that
this?
makes sense.
Are we going to see
I'm sorry.
that? Are we going to see this anywhere similar to, like Aikido would be with circular movements? Or we've even seen, because you said it was soft. We've seen what is it? Kempo. Ed Parker's Kempo has circular movements, and that is brutal. Are any similarities to that at all?
I think that a lot of martial arts, they're all similar to each other. I mean, we all have two hands, 2 feet. We're all using the same tools, but we're employing them maybe from a different direction. We're using a different approach. So like a judo person may focus, they're still using their hands and their legs and all that, but maybe they focus on throwing. A boxer focuses on hands. Uh, you know, it's like, how would I explain that? But yeah, I would say at the higher levels that Kyokushin definitely has that circular movement. You take a kata like Tensho, for example, which is done very slow. And sometimes you look at it and it almost looks like Kung Fu, some of the things that we do. But again, you kind of have Kyokushin comes. A lot of it comes from Shotokan and from Goju, and from Shotokan you get that linear uh, movement, straight in, explosiveness, and then from Goju you get that more employment of hard and soft and the circular movement.
I got to ask
So
if you came from a different time too, from the '80s, and it was before MMA and then before BJJ, and you're looking at law enforcement. If you're military special forces, how did it apply in military, and what was the evolution like when all of a sudden everyone went like I'm retired law enforcement and everybody and their mother, you need to do BJJ. I just put a video up. I run a YouTube channel on I review police body camera footage, and I watched two guys from Riverside, California use some of the worst police tactics ever. And I'm like, man, just get your kids involved with wrestling from day one. And I can't believe the amount of people were like, wrestling won't help you with law enforcement. And I was like, it was pretty much my entire law enforcement career was based from wrestling. But so unless today is now BJJ and MMA are the end all be all and everything else is crap. So how did your application of your art stand up in the time? And then what have you seen over the last 30, 40 years evolution wise?
well, first I was in special forces. I did. I was a U.S. Navy Master of Arms, so it's like military police for the Navy, but I specialize mostly in anti-terrorism force protection, which is it's defensive in nature. We provide security for ships and installations and bases and things like that. Um, I did embark security teams for a while, where I provided security for civilian-operated ships that were, supplying forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. They would go through our AOR and go up to Kuwait and drop stuff off, and they needed security in that area. So, no, I wasn't special forces or anything like that. But uh, I know that Army Combatives, for example, has a BJJ base, and that was something that we did training on. Uh, Marine Corps martial arts definitely has some wrestling movements in it,
Mm-hmm.
but it also has striking, and so it has that too. I agree with you that um, just about any altercation between two people, you have to be prepared to end up on the ground. It just it just seems normal that they're going to grab you. When I was coming up, I came up in a dojo where we didn't fight under knockdown rules. we would put gloves, we'd pad up, gloves and, putting or shin and instep, and punch to the face. You could grab, you could throw, you could take down. All those things were allowed. And my teacher was actually a little bit of a critic of knockdown because the rules are so restrictive. And he used to say that anytime you take martial art and you turn it into a sport, you weaken it.
Mm-mm.
And because you have to have rules in order to protect the players. And so it's always been kind of one of my pet peeves about people who criticize Kyokushin. And they say, well, you guys don't punch to the face. And I always laugh. And I'm like, don't get knocked down fighting the sport confused with Kyokushin, the style.
I want to pull some of it up. I want to take a look at it. Have you seen those karate tournaments? Let's see if I can find this. Karate tournaments, 70s versus today. I wonder if they have these. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up and I'm gonna share this. I think I tried. I was gonna do a review of this, but I got it. Oh, yeah. You guys can't see it yet. Let me do this. All right. And I can share the screen. All right, can you guys see the karate screen there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I wanna get rid of the volume. This is the 70s kind of, what do you call it? Stuff versus the 80s stuff, and you just see it turned into tap dancing. It just really blows me away how this is what do you call it? Martial arts was some hard punching where I wouldn't want to fight anybody, and then now it's just dancing and who's going to get the tap.
Right.
Oh my God. These guys back from the 70s and 80s, they were brutal.
Yeah, I think that as we kind of went through the 80s, I think they were trying to get a more of a handle on it as far as the contact and things, because they did start trying to enforce that more. And I remember probably late 80s, 86, 87. I actually attended a tournament. Me and another black belt from my dojo, we went to a point tournament. And, honestly, I kind of looked at point tournaments by that point as just more of a social event. You got out there and you played tag for a while. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't like real fighting. I'm not saying there wasn't some value in training for the explosive movement and that kind of thing, that the kind of skills that you needed to score points, but it wasn't real fighting. And he and I, ended up facing each other, and we looked at each other and smiled a little bit and thought we'd put on a little demonstration. And we both almost like that got called for excessive contact.
I can't fathom that with how today is. It just blows me away. Michael, I'm curious to hear about you because you're becoming like our resident historian from the last episode you were on, which I enjoyed thoroughly. You've had to seen, even though you're remaining somewhat mysterious, you've had to seen some progression, or is this progression in martial arts with this crap that we've seen versus what we're used to? I know Michael does take a minute. I know there's Michael's hearing impaired and he reads the comments and then replies. Can you read my?
Yeah, I'm reading the caption again.
Yeah, we can.
Would you like me to comment?
Yeah. So my question for you, Michael, was what differences have you seen in this progression, or is it a lack of progression from a more hard, fighting to let's just dance and tap each other?
I think I think the old-fashioned way is best. No gloves, no headgear. You think something is realistic. If they're going to do boxing, that's okay. But it's not realistic because they will break the hand when they punch your head. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does, because I keep talking about how, like, when I do the critiques of applied Wing Chun and they've got gloves on and they've got, what do you call it, shin pads on, and you can't get the feel. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you need to punch somebody in the forehead, so you're like, ow, I just got a boxer's fracture because I punched them bone on bone. I can't do that again. I think you need those learning lessons.
I've been taught to punch walls. I've been taught to punch walls to make my hands stronger, not to break. You know, building the bones, microfractures on the hand. It's like old-fashioned boxing in the 80th, 19th century.
Yeah, the microfractures are going to wind up. What do you call it? You're going to strengthen your hands
I'm
anyway.
not sure.
Yeah, they're going to strengthen your hands anyways. Bloody Hippos, good to see you again.
Nice to see you, man.
Thoughts, comments, suggestions.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you've said so far. I agree that it's been a game of tag now, and I've actually seen this in person too, like where my brother used to train Taekwondo when he was a kid.
Yeah, I got that.
And yeah, he he's a black belt, and what happened was he saw this progression, from the actual sparring and stuff, because his instructor was a old school Korean dude who also did full contact as well as these point stuff, and he often emphasized it's not a game of tag, it's it's an art, it's a martial art, you got to do the martial.
Yeah, less art, more art. We all thought it was supposed to be like best of the best, and
you're
supposed to, Tommy, don't adjust your foot and kick him. Over in the chat, MRZN says the spiral movement is legit. A Tai Chi master used that on me during a push hand tournament and softly redirected my face to land on his stable knee. Eric Thompson said, all I remember is the Diamond Nationals. Guys over in the chat, if you do want to be involved with this, go to patreon.com and sign up become a member of the Izzo Wing Chun group, and then you could join us there. Yeah, that MRZN comment verifies, Bill, what you were saying about that. I'll call you William because they're William with the freshly shaven face. What are your thoughts on this? Because you, again, you had the judo background.
So Kyokushin and judo. I run a Kyokushin school, and we have a judo program.
Oh, so you have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, actually, I sat in on a grading board. I'm not going to name his name, but he runs an international Taekwondo organization. And he was one of those old blood and guts fighters. And even in his 70s, still had the hands. And he pulled me aside afterwards and he asked, how can I fix this? Where did we go wrong? And we both came to the same conclusion. You're going to have to kill your business, because you're not going to be able to do this. You're going to lose all your people. You're going to lose all your schools. You go back to the old way of training. You're going to have to start over. But yeah, it's crazy. Some of it makes sense. There's different levels of thing. Not everyone's going to be a pro fighter. Not everyone's going to be that badass walking down the street. But they seem to have switched it. A lot of organizations switched it to catering to the lowest denominator. Never get hurt, never have an injury, never really experience what you're there to experience. And then you also find out they don't understand most of what they're doing. And some do, but most don't. So
yeah, that lowest common denominator. That's how I lost. Like I opened a school in 2014, and because I was teaching out of another gym, and at the time, YouTube was really big for me. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm tired of advertising this other guy's name on the wall for my videos, and I might as well open up my own gym. So I did. I was a bad teacher for the specific reason of the lowest common denominator. And what you would do is, I was not hard enough, where guys would come in, and I didn't teach the way that I learned, which was, hey, 3 weeks, you're going to come to class on Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next 3 weeks until you've improved. You're going to stand there static in your stance and do the chain punch. That's it. And if class is an hour and a half, 2 hours, that's all you're doing. And I went, I can't do that. I'll lose students, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. So I had an uneven progression of students because very, very few are dedicated to actually sitting there and learning one movement. Everybody wants to quote Bruce Lee, but it's like nobody wants to train like him. I don't fear the man who practices 10,000 techniques once. I fear the man who practices one technique 10,000 times. Well, that means you have to sit there and 10,000 times, right? So then when new students would come in, it was all of a sudden I had to detract my focus from the more senior people. And then all of a sudden, hey, let me give you the pomp and flash and this and that within the new ones. And I was neglecting the dedicated ones because the new ones then, if 10 came in, one was dedicated enough to stay and do the work. So I would get burnt out because I get tired of starting over and trying to keep new people's attention to show, if I ever opened up a school again, it would be hard. It's my way. Don't like it. Go get out of here. I do not need your business. And I don't think it would be a very, very, very big class at all. And I think you're right on that.
I have other instructors, and
can I talk?
they do their own thing. My classes are my classes. If you don't like them, don't come. Just the way it is. But if you expect to advance past a certain point, not on me. That's on you.
Michael, go ahead.
When I did my martial art class, I was like 3 hours. 3 hours of hard work. We find people who are very hard, dedicated, and we have another group who are not strong enough. We have teacher assistants that they help each other teaching. So it was both hard training group and the staff training group by levels, how much they can handle.
Even back then, people don't want to put in the work. It blows me away. I found this. Let's look at, because we were talking about Taekwondo and black belt. This is a black belt or Taekwondo then and now, if you will. So we have that going on here. A lot of. Okay. Yeah, these guys. I mean, I've said it for years. I mean, Taekwondo. Well, it doesn't. You get the guys like Joe Rogan who did it and they perfected stuff. It doesn't work in a street fight. Yeah, here's today the tap. This is insane. Taekwondo. I was under the impression was meant to like kick guys off a horseback, and it's like I could not imagine being at the receiving end of a Taekwondo kick to your head. Yeah, I think that's instant death. Somebody winds up connecting with full force. So I don't take Taekwondo lightly at all, but I don't know what this is at all. These guys were badasses. And then you get the... Damn! You break your face open with a heel kick like that. I don't know what this is. And this is the Olympics. This is insane. How do we pass this off as martial arts? How do I touch you? Oh my God. Look at one of those kicks will end you. If they didn't have headgear on and they actually connected full force, it's
no different than Olympic boxing. You watch boxing versus Olympic boxing, it looks very much the same.
Which blows me away because people like Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, didn't Mike Tyson? Floyd Mayweather Jr., they came from Olympic boxing.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. How do people call this even? This is ridiculous. Didn't somebody say, like, if you wind up getting what the hell was that? You get a knockout, it's like you get disqualified. Oh, ow. I just hurt my wrist watching that punch.
No, I think
That actually happened in the last Olympics when karate was a sport. The guy who got knocked out got the gold medal.
Say that. Oh, really?
The guy got knocked out in the final, got the gold medal. The other guy was disqualified, lost the fight because he knocked him out.
I don't know.
It was insane. All the Kyokushin people lost their mind. I mean, the huge discussion on Facebook and all of that, and it's crazy. I created the Kyokushin Kai Karate Facebook group. It's one of the largest Kyokushin Facebook groups there, over 90,000 members right now. And it was just a huge discussion about that. And you go, it's not a martial art if the person who gets knocked out wins. That's just crazy.
So that was a question I asked last time, and I'll ask this all the time. Does traditional martial arts have a place in 2025 and beyond for real fighting application, not discipline, not health and wellness, not the art, but the martial? Does it, or are we creating bad teachers to continue whatever this would be called, and go from there? JG, yeah, what's going on? Chime in.
Hi, C4 Dominic. I've actually made comments on a lot of your videos, and usually you tend to like what I have to say. So
I'm an asshole in the comment section. I appreciate that. Like most of the
So I actually I studied Wing Chun in my 20s intermittently. Now I actually study online with Adam Chan, who I like very much.
Canada, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So my in-person training is Krav Maga. I live in New York, and I returned to martial arts because, for what it's worth, I'm an Orthodox Jew, and after October 7th, my entire life basically changed here. One of my friends was assaulted last week on his way to our class, by the way, in the street by a dozen teenagers. I've learned, I've taken up firearms at this point, which I never would have thought of about 2 years ago. My shooting is absolute shit because my wife doesn't want it in the house, so I have to travel to a range an hour away, but I'm doing it when I can. And that's it, so like I studied mostly in the 90s, because I'm in my mid-40s right now. Did not really do some of the styles that the other gentlemen here are discussing, although I know they're all, back in the days when they were doing this, it was, like you said, pretty hardcore. And the reason I chimed in at this moment is because traditional martial arts will have a place if they train with having the self-defense or even self-offense or whatever you want to call it as their primary goal, which was the original goal of all these things, over the past couple of 100 years. And I discussed this with my Krav Maga sensei recently, because he has more of a Japanese background. That in Japan, I don't think they went through the same suppression of a lot of arts that in China they did, where in China they basically watered things down for political reasons for decades, including some of the Wing Chun, but a lot of the other styles as well, because of the Cultural Revolution and all these other things. I think you found better Chinese martial arts for a long time outside of China, mostly in the Chinese expatriate community and the other Asian countries, and eventually in the U.S. And the U.S. was a blessing for Chinese martial arts who wanted to focus on self-defense, because you had this cultural mix of different types of people, different attitudes, different styles that gave rise to the necessity to evolve.
I want to ask you about Krav Maga, because I was before I found Wing Chun, the two things that I wanted to do was either Kempo, because I watched Jeff Speakman's Perfect Weapon,
Yeah, I love that movie.
I didn't know that he's from 2 towns over from me. He's from Arlington Heights, Illinois. And back when when I stopped wrestling, I wanted to find something, and there was just Shotokan gyms, karate studios, and I couldn't find anything. And I found Wing Chun by accident. I was like, oh, this is the cat's ass. That's it. But Krav Maga, what fascinated me about it is what you're talking about, the evolution. It's still relatively young. It hasn't really evolved that much. I mean, I think you've got like some offshoots, like Hagana is one. But what has been your experience or journey with that and any type of evolution with how that art fits in today? Because that was, as far as I'm concerned, Krav Maga kind of fit a little bit more MMA brutality before MMA really got big. And then you saw MMA, and it's like, okay, well, nobody's paying attention to Krav Maga anymore. And now it's an Israeli fighting system for their military, right?
Right. So it was originally invented actually in Europe by a man named Emil Lichtenfeld, who was actually a cop, I think, there. And he drew mostly from his street fighting experience. And then he did put in wrestling, boxing, some Asian martial arts. And then when he went to Israel, he eventually refined it, and it became the Israeli military fighting system. But originally it was designed, from what I understand, to be really taught kind of like in a boot camp style, where in a few weeks they get you up to speed with basic fighting techniques. You know, I know you're retired law enforcement, but I know you probably know a lot of there's some military people here tonight. And a lot of, even in the militaries that are always combat ready, hand-to-hand combat is often neglected in favor of just learning how to use your long gun, then your sidearm, then your knife, and then when all that is gone, then you have your hands. So it's actually not always as well developed in the military as people might think. At least from people in the military have told me this as well. So the civilian version is probably more pursued for longer periods of time. It's probably taught more broadly, has a different emphasis, doesn't really, it has a lot of the gun and knife disarms, but it doesn't involve use of the offensive weaponry quite as much, at least not from what I've seen, although some people do some of that in the civilian arena, but mostly things like sticks and whatever. You're not really, unless you're going to integrate it with firearms training or knife training, offensive knife training, it's a little bit of a different flavor. I will say, though, the funny thing is that some of the best lessons I've had in my Krav Maga class basically look like Wing Chun. They really are. Like, I'll tell you what we did yesterday. We did a drill. Okay, it was a predetermined drill, but where someone throws a hook or a haymaker, you put up your hand in like a bilgi or like a wedge style block. You immediately strike with the same hand, so short range or long bridge releasing power. And then with the opposite arm, you do an elbow. And I do my elbows Wing Chun style with an overhead, like a hacking elbow. And I was probably one of the few people that got this really quickly, because I was like, oh, okay, this is second form. Very good. What
do you see with the relationship between Wing Chun and Krav Maga?
I think the Venn diagram of the two it overlaps to a large extent. I wish that a lot of the Wing Chun schools trained with the attitude that Krav Maga schools have, because I think philosophically they're quite similar. If you take any Krav Maga seminar or open up a book, you open up to a random page of the Krav Maga book, and many of them espouse the same principles. Some of the techniques even look very similar. There's a lot of attempts at simultaneous attack and defense, Linsu Deda. Of course, they don't call it that. I don't even know if there is I do speak Hebrew, but I don't know if there's I don't know the Hebrew term for it, if there even is one. But they emphasize that as a concept. Preemptive striking, hit first, hit hard, no nonsense. But there's a lot of Krav Maga that was branded badly, either because there are people who really are not really Krav instructors and then go take some weekend seminar, get some certification, fly-by-night thing, and like, okay, now I can teach Krav self-defense. And they're really not Krav people. There's also, because a lot of them come from other martial arts backgrounds, there are different flavors. Like if I ever became an instructor, mine would probably have a slightly Chinese or Wing Chun flavor. My instructor comes from a traditional karate background. He's excellent, and he did a lot of stuff in real life outside the ring, so he can actually back up what he says. But his has more of a Japanese approach to it. But that's okay, because it works. You know,
Would you say that there's similarities between like Jeet Kune Do's philosophy and Krav with the blending of content, if you will?
There might be. I don't know if they apply it quite the same way, but I think JKD also suffered from the same stuff we've been discussing.
Oh yeah, they have worse than anybody. Yep.
And Krav, I think, has its own politics as well. Although I don't really know as much about it. The people I study with tend to stay out of it. I did have the good fortune to go to a seminar last year with one of the first generation students of the founder of the system. So that's actually one thing that's nice. There's people that are still alive now that trained with the original founder of the system that are still teaching people today and refining things. The other thing that they'll do that most other arts probably don't do unless you have a really savvy instructor. And again, you may have seen this in the law enforcement side of your practice, but they'll take case studies from around the world and update what they teach the soldiers and even the civilian version at some points based on what's going on. Like if bad guys are evolving different tactics, whether it's street violence, terrorists, if they're changing what they're doing, they'll say, okay, now we have to change this technique to fit this. Like I remember one of my former instructors said over the years when they had terrorist attacks, some of the knife attacks they used, the terrorists, their tactics changed. And so they actually started changing what they taught in Krav Maga seminars and classes and to the military to evolve in response. And no other martial art really does that unless you're in modern combatives or, more, I guess, more, I want to say practical, because there are a lot of practical martial arts that aren't necessarily aligned in that way. But a lot of other arts don't update themselves that way, or at least, change their training approach.
No, yes, that's pride. That's a pride issue, and law enforcement doesn't. We stopped the last time I remember was they were showing videos of prisoners in lockup that when they were being searched or pat down off of a wall, you put the prisoner hands up on the wall, you go up and then they would spring off the wall and turn violently into the correctional officer, the jail guard. And so when we would do cuffing techniques or searching, I would tell people, put your hands out in front of you like you're walking like Frankenstein. They weren't allowed to touch the squad. They weren't allowed to touch the wall. And so then now it's all of a sudden here's a taser and everything else that doesn't work that gets you away from hand tactics. Michael, what do you got on this?
What about system and Krav Maga? I did system. It has a lot. People talk bad about system.
I don't know.
Talk bad about Krav Maga.
I don't know if system.
They do have good instructors in system and bad instructors. I was lucky that I was taught by a law enforcement detective on system. He taught me the real stuff.
Systema, well, Lenny Sly has some experience with Systema. Dan the Wolfman has experience with Systema. And those guys those punches from Systema are hardcore. They're like dead weight. And I think I think there's some validity in it. Have you guys anybody seen Systema?
Yes, I have.
I'll bring that up. I want to watch this. I want to watch this first. We'll get to the Systema, but this is the Bruce Lee of Krav Maga, Roy. I'm not going to even try and pronounce that, but I want to look at a Krav demo. Warning, the stunts were performed by live. Okay, that's just cool. Turn the volume down here. Man, yeah, I am not even remotely as athletic as this. That would kill me doing that. Ouch. I like brutal martial arts. Yeah, we get the blindfold stuff in Wing Chun. Once you learn like contact, it's so easy to find every part of a person after you've been training Chi Sao. Contact is, you don't need your eyes for that. I like this kind of. Is this JG? Is this similar to anything that you guys are trained on?
This is definitely more advanced. I'll also say that unfortunately the facility I'm in doesn't have a lot of mats on the floor. We don't have any mats on the floor.
Yeah.
So that's that limits the ability to do takedowns and things like that. But I've seen other people do things like this too. It's
cool. I mean, I like it. This is there's the art definitely, and there's some brutal martial stuff in there. So I like this. This is cool. This is. I mean, to have this kind of skill, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But I don't move like this anymore. It's no way. I don't think I could kick above the knee without ripping a groin at this point. 65 rounds of fighting. Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Okay. When I did self-defense with people who have no martial arts background, they don't have something like a wrestling base. When they try to perform advanced techniques that actually work, but with no martial arts background, they just don't seem to do it right. And the self-defense doesn't always work well without a base.
All right, this is what I want to look at. Sistema. We'll take a look at this. Sistema's it's a very relaxed martial art, and it almost seems like it takes the best of Wing Chun's concept and puts that dead weight into people. Some of this stuff I'm suspect of, obviously, and it looks like it would be fitting on Bushido, where you put a knife at my throat, and all I'm going to do is twirl and get you out of it. I know these are drills. I know they're drills, and I understand there's the concept for it. You know, you're using the fluidity. It's almost like the circularity from Kempo, where you're hitting and then you're finding that path to generate more force on a circle. They have circle and straight lines in Parko's Kempo. And this, I'm not going to lie, this stuff is kind of cool. Oh. All I do know is that the relaxation aspect of it, you get hit by a punch that's got like that dead weight energy, and it hurts, man. Oh, that's not bad. Sistema. I got to find the BS Sistema, though. What is Sistema and its history? Well, let's take a look. Let's educate us all today.
The Russian style of martial art dates back to the 10th century. Throughout the history of this huge country, Russia had to repel invaders from the north, south, east, and west. All attackers brought their distinct styles of combat and weaponry. The battles took place on different terrain during freezing winters and sweltering summer heat alike, with the Russians often greatly outnumbered by the enemy forces. As a result of these factors, the Russian warriors acquired a style that combined strong spirit with extremely innovative and versatile tactics that were at the same time practical, deadly, and effective against any type of enemy under any circumstances.
All right, let's see what we have.
The style was natural and free, while having no strict rules, rigid structure, or limitations, except for the moral ones. All tactics were based on instinctive reactions, individual strengths, and characteristics specifically designed for fast learning.
I don't see any of this stuff being bullshit. I don't, because if you look at it, you can see that they're just, it is almost like the be like water. And a lot of people, they take the physical Bruce Lee be like water concept. It's water is going to find the path of least resistance. So when you make contact with someone, you're gonna flow to the next target point. And what I see in this these movements is these guys, they're so relaxed, they're just flowing to the next movement. So I don't see. I'm not on the, oh, this is bullshito. Oh, I can see the more relaxed you, this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, all right. I get the concept of it, but, you got to do it. And they're Russians, too, so they're crazy. It's not, that's taking training to the next level. Get in the car, we're going to put this plastic bag over your head. Use your teeth to get out of it. I don't know. It's not bad. It's kind of cool. I have no interest in learning it, but at the same time, I see that how it does come up, and now it's good to know that it's from Russia and whatever. Chime in anytime, gents. What do you guys got? What are your thoughts? Sistema, is it real or is it garbage? Does it have its place? Look at Bill smiling up there. It's like,
I think it looks garbage at first, but when you try it, it actually works.
I don't doubt it.
The YouTube videos, I just don't like it. It just looks weird.
Yeah.
But when I practice it, it's wonderful.
I don't doubt the flow, the fluid aspect of it. I can get behind, because if you're going to meet an obstruction, you're going to flow around it. That's the very nature of what Chi Sao teaches us in Wing Chun. So that doesn't bother me. Bill, you got a grin on your face there. What are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like you're going to have to really train that a lot. I mean, in order to be able to flow like they're flowing, you have to be relaxed while you're doing it. And that's going to take doing it over and over and over. And it's going to take a certain amount of mental focus and concentration to do that. And in order to be calm enough mentally, because, if you feel stress, you tighten up. To be able to be calm under pressure. And that's maybe one of the more difficult things that we try to teach people. I'm not even sure I have it, and I've been doing this for a long time. It's not a simple thing.
That is exactly.
I agree.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen Klaus Brand's Wing Chun. He comes from, it looks like, the Iman Bostepe's line of Wing Chun, but he always thought that the harder that you can't relax when it comes down to applying. I don't care how much somebody says you got to be soft when you train Wing Chun. You can't apply it when you actually fight. So his Wing Chun is a hard Wing Chun system. I need to get dinged on YouTube with So they don't train for soft energy meeting soft energy. They train hard energy. And when I saw this for the first time years ago, I went, yeah, he was one of the first guys that actually spoke up about this and said, we don't train for I'm going to meet your soft force on soft force. You meet soft force on hard force, you're going to get knocked right over. So I respected him. Where's this? Oh, this is not the video I want. He actually did an interview on it. Klaus Brand interview.
But kind of connected to that, I could say that it's much easier to train somebody to go hard than it is to flow and be relaxed and go through all that.
Oh yeah.
You can train somebody hard and they'll pick that up much faster and be effective much sooner going that route versus the route that these other people were going. I'm not saying that it's BS or anything.
No, I agree with you.
But isn't it the same age-old debate about internal versus external, et
Yeah.
cetera?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
I am Sifu Klaus Brandt, and I lead the International Academy of Wing Chun as a Grandmaster.
Looking at his uniform only, he does look like he comes from the Lung Ting lineage, more specifically Keith Kernspet. For those who are familiar with Wing Chun, you can tell some of his movements do look similar to Kernspet's. And they adopted the yellow trim on the black gis as time went on as the Sifu.
We are mainly interested in teaching self-defense to our students. Because Wing Chun is from the first movement to the last movement, it's only self-defense, it's nothing else. Of course, some are doing Wing Chun because of the art, because of the body physique, the coordination. But we have no one movement which has nothing to do with self-defense. Everything what we do is self-defense, pure self-defense.
What I like about these guys is they don't really swallow energy. They attack an incoming attack, which is what we're supposed to do in Wing Chun. It's not a soft absorb and redirect. It's force on force, and that's what your body does in a fight.
45 years ago, in the age of 4, I started judo because my father was the first league trainer, and so I actually had to go to train. I mean, if you're young, you try a lot and you try to figure out what is the best for you and what fits the best for you. But then, if you are really interested in the idea of how can I defend myself and do I really use what I learned, then I started to look around and I was searching for something else because I realized these martial arts are not good enough to defend yourself. This was okay for body physique, just some training, and every training is good, of course, but if you're really interested in self-defense, in basic self-defense, in functional self-defense, that does not help. In the beginning, when I started 27 years ago, it was not like it became. Later, in the 80s,
problem we just identified.
90s, Wing Chun became useless.
This is the William Chung lineage.
It became something, but not a self-defense style.
That's the
anymore.
crap cheese out tournaments I can't stand.
Game. I decided actually to develop it in a new way, where it had to become functional, powerful, and applicable. I put this idea of
Wang Sheng
being a
Liang.
weapon, not carrying a weapon with you. I put this into every level. So even for the beginners, the first movement that we do, if it is footwork, Chiso for the advanced, or this Laza program, this fighting program, casting arms program for the students, it is based on weapon fighting. So this was actually the main transformation about the system of Wing Chun, of our style of Wing Chun.
Yeah, there's a very hard style of Wing Chun. There's no softness. I like it.
No one knows what traditional actually is. What they call now traditional.
Well, William Chung
is
does,
what
and
they did
he
in the
copyrighted
80s.
it.
And in the 80s, they went a new way. So in this, what they call traditional way, they try to be relaxed during a self-defense situation. But in a self-defense situation, in a real situation, you are everything but not relaxed. The heart rate is rising up. Our blood system is ready. Our muscles are ready. Our mental situation. We are prepared. We are ready to fight or flight. And this readiness, they did not want to use. And this is something I really don't understand. As long as we are humans, we cannot ignore this fact that we shoot out adrenaline and we are ready to fight. And this tension, if we are able to use it technically with the right timing, so you need the right speed and the power. All what we growed up in all these hundreds of years, why don't we use it, and why we speak about some kind of fake tradition. I'm a traditionalist. I thought about it, how would it be or how should it be if you would live hundreds of years ago? What is Wing Chun then? What is self-defense? What means to survive? For everything you need power, some kind of power. Maybe not 100%. To not use it, this 100% of power, during a self-defense situation, that is risk. So we need 100% of power, but power without speed is the same senseless like speed without technique and technique without power. So we need to bring all this together to one thing, and this thing is what we call Wing Chun.
Yeah, he's somebody, like 10 years ago I saw this and it influenced my Wing Chun because it's kind of like it gave permission to go, okay, you could teach aggressive martial arts and especially Wing Chun, and it's more successful because I was starting to find that whenever somebody from another school would come in and train with me and they were soft on Chisa or whatever, I could I dominated them all the time because all they knew was the soft energy for Wing Chun, and it was how Sifus kept their students always their students. Because if you can't overpower me, then you're going to keep paying me tuition every month. So it was like that. All right, let's close this out here tonight. Final thoughts, everybody. I'll start up at the top there. Bill, it's just a hangout today, talking martial arts. What are your final thoughts on everything?
Well, it was interesting. I was watching the Wing Chun guys, and it kind of reminds me how connected everything is. And if you look at the roots of karate, I mean, originally it wasn't open or empty hand; it was China hand. They just changed what they used. And watching the Wing Chun, it reminded me of Tensho Kata that we do, and of course we know if we go back in history, that came from China. So it's just a reminder of how connected we all are. And, Musashi himself said there's more than one path to the top of the mountain, and we all have to find our own path and what works for us.
Love it. William, what do you got?
Thank you. Awesome stuff.
All right, Michael. There you go. Appreciate that, Michael. Michael, how's that? Are you still working on your book?
What?
Are you still working on your book, Michael? Are you you were diving into
But I'm confused. What book? What book?
Didn't you say you were doing research or study or writing a book?
Not a book. It's just research for me. Like martial arts history. I feel that I have a stronger understanding now than before, but I just can't talk about it. People won't believe it.
Well, maybe you should write a book. Well, think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. William, what do you got?
No, I enjoyed that last guy. I'd like to see where he ends up on his journey.
Yeah, I like
the direction he's going. I can see the development there. I'd like to see where, when he's comfortable, you're never really comfortable, but when he gets to the point where he says, this is where our baseline is, I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I got to get him for an interview. I was on a podcast. JG, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this was a great session. I liked what you just ended with. Reminds me of something I've noticed over the years. The Europeans seem to have kept the original spirit of what Wing Chun was intended more consistently than what we see in the U.S., I think.
Yeah, because it's a business here. Because it's guarding the rice bowl. I've said this a million times. My second teacher had guys training with him for 20 years, didn't know the entire system. And I'm like, but they come in every week and give you $50 for private lesson 2 times a week, and then they're paying monthly tuition. That's how he made his living. It's called guarding the rice bowl. As long as I give you just enough to eat, you're going to keep coming back for more. But if I teach you how to make the rice yourself, you don't need me anymore. And I have no respect for that. My view has always been make your student better than you, because then you'll never run out of a training partner to improve on. It's ego. Like Matt, who was probably my best student, I taught Matt, what I knew so that Matt would come after me, which meant I had to improve, because my view was I'm not going to let this son of a bitch get better than me. So I don't know why people don't do that. So it is what it is. Bloody Hippos, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree fully with what you just said about all that stuff. I agree with everything you just said. And also, about last time, I actually found out some more info about my lineage, because I sat down with dinner with my instructor. I found out that one of his teachers was direct under Moyat, so that was nice.
I have no experience in that lineage. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
No, I also found video of his teach. Well, it's not his teacher; it's his teacher's teacher. So but I found video of him doing a lopsao drill. So maybe I'll show you guys at some point. But yeah, I've found some footage of him, and it was nice talking about it. And I found out there's actually a connection to the Gracie family as well. So that was interesting to talk about, and how it didn't do the same thing that it did with Phil. Like, it didn't do what you said that Phil did.
Get kicked out of class for questioning shit.
No, it didn't do that. No, how you said like that you should, like, because of your wrestling, the mentality part. Like, I feel like I got that from the fact that Rex, that's his name, Rex Aparush. I don't know how to say his last name, but he trained with the Gracies, so I think his mentality was aggressive because of that. Like,
yeah, even my Wing Chun now, years later, I've been doing Wing Chun since '96, and it's changing again. Because when I went back to coaching wrestling, I went, "Oh my God, Wing Chun is completely anti-grappling."
No, he was very close, especially with Royce Gracie at the time, and I think that helped the mentality of the lineage a lot, and the fact that he was aggressive with it. He's not like in the lopside drill video. He's really like, "That's a shit bong style." Like he really like shows like says that shit about like traditional Wing Chun or something. So, throws out like a bong, so it's just shit. Well,
I don't mind that. I like that kind of teaching. All right, gents, I appreciate your time. Guys, if you are watching this and you want to be a part of this, we want the community to grow. I wouldn't mind 100 people on here, just as long as you guys are raising your hands and contributing properly. To get involved on the panel, go to patreon.com, Izzo Wing Chun, and become a member there. And just click on the link. We're doing this the first Tuesday of the month for now, but if it keeps growing, we'll do it Tuesdays weekly, because I'm actually enjoying this, and we'll go from there. But other than that, everybody have a great damn night, and if you have anything, put in the comment section. Thank you. Put in the comment section what you want me to cover on the normal videos that I do Monday through Friday, and I will see you guys all in the next video.